Clara and Marie, thank you for joining me today, taking time out of your schedule to talk about your new film that you have, which is called Uncanny. It's I got a chance to review it, and yeah, I'm very excited to talk about it. But thank you for being here today.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
so much for having us.
I don't know who wants to do it, but I always love doing this. If one of you want to give kind of a just a brief synopsis of what Uncanny is about to my listeners.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Uncanny is an exploration on depression and suicide, spanning 1 century among women who live in a particular house. And the main character is Zuzu, and our therapist was exposed to something very traumatic. And in order to get over the trauma, she moves in that house, and things start happening. And she goes down the rabbit hole, and there's a if we play around with, is it real? Is it out of Zuzu's head? We don't really know. It's up to the audience to
The
decide.
unreliable narrator.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also under macro level, it's also a analogy about women who are forced to subject themselves to unrealistic beauty ideals through social media.
Mhm.
So you have the mental health, depression, suicide issue, and then you have the beauty ideals on the other hand, and it kind of merged together with elements of fairy tales in there.
Quite a mouthful.
Quite about. Well, there is a lot going on. It's very multi-layered movie. I mean, on the surface, some people might think of it as just kind of a paranormal film, but there's a lot more going on with this than just that angle with it, and that's what surprised me. Now, you both co-wrote this film, correct? And Marie, you pulled from your experience. You were a therapist, or are
I
for
was a
quite some
mental
time.
health counselor, and I
Hmm.
used art therapy, especially drama, theater,
Hmm.
puppetry, to work with severely abused children who were ward of the court. So I work in group homes and residential treatment facilities with children and teenagers for 20 some years. So it
Wow.
really had a huge impact on my life. And those kids were phenomenal. They changed me. I hope for a better person, much more that I was able to change them. They were amazing and resilient and tremendous sense of humor, because I think when you go through hell, you have to look for humor.
Hmm.
Also why we put a humor in the film. And it's kind of, yeah, he had to come out of my crazy mind and go on paper. And Claire and she's my daughter, by the way, so we're a mother-daughter team. And we decided to create our own vehicle because, there's a lot of ageism against women in Hollywood. And I certainly didn't want to wait for the phone to ring because it wasn't ringing. And so after being in working mental health for 20 some years, I decided to, after my parents passed away, that life is really short. So upon coming home from my dad's funeral, I did a few phone calls, enrolled in acting class, and
Well,
that's it.
well,
Yeah.
you put in an amazing role, and you worked some of your experiences correct because it felt authentic with the
Yes.
kids in
Yes.
this.
Oh yeah, and it's actually most of the, at the end of the film we always write, oh, nobody, the characters in the film are fictitious. No, well, we put it there, but it's really, we wrote those
Quite a
characters
few of the characters are
do
based on real
exist in real
people.
life,
Yeah.
or it's a mixture of
Mhm.
different characters. Thankfully, I never had to go to the trauma that happened to Zuzu, but I have about 3 friends who had to deal with that,
Mm.
and they don't prepare. They
Yeah.
don't prepare for that in school, in grad school, in psychology or therapy school, and it's devastating. Um, but the seances, all the therapy sessions, tearing down the room because mom didn't show up. Oh yes, oh yes. Actually, I'm still in touch, very very close touch with that particular young girl who was 6 years old at the time in real, and now she's 18, and we
Wow.
call each other. Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. So and yeah, Clara, what?
Uh, yeah, I mean, and we also did additionally quite a bit of research for the different time periods and
Hmm.
the sorts of, uh, I guess, um, modes of suicide in
Hmm.
at different
Per
times,
decades.
and
Yeah, and the
um,
reasons why.
yeah, the social reasons that were kind of imposing on people and women. Yeah, and it's
Now, Clara, this is your first time directing a
that's
full
correct.
feature, correct?
Yes, I previously I'd also been an actor, but I'd been looking for an opportunity to move behind the camera. Um, so yeah, we kind of did the crazy thing and just yeah.
It's ignorance is bliss.
Hmm.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
we
And
were
We just forged ahead. Yeah.
going, we shed a lot more,
Caution to the wind.
more blood, tears, and sweat behind in the making of the Uncanny.
Yeah.
It's more drama than the film itself.
Oh yes.
It was
Oh yeah.
brutal, but I think it's pretty normal. Filmmaking is brutal.
Yeah.
It-
It's a war zone.
it is. I've had more than a number of indie filmmakers, men and women both, who said, "Yeah, at one point I kind of got into a room and just kind of was tears, crying because
Really?
of the stress, just
Yes.
because of
Sobbing,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have sobbing on
Okay,
screen,
I don't
sobbing
feel
behind
so
the
alone then.
screen.
no, so it happens. Yeah, you're not alone in that as well. Very very stressful, but the end product usually, 9 times out of 10 is worth it, right?
Yes.
The stress and for you,
Yes.
Clara, they always say don't work with kids and animals
And costumes.
and costumes
Period costumes, yeah.
and you just dove right into the deep end of the pool with your
It was really easy
Yeah.
for me to work with the kids and with the animals. The costumes, I have to admit, they were more difficult than I anticipated because they were all
Sure.
actually our own costumes.
Oh, okay.
I'm a hoarder of vintage and antique clothes, so
Yeah.
we had it all on board. And
But it was still quite an ordeal, nonetheless, keeping all those organized in the house and but the dog, I mean, little Charlie, he's just a natural. Like you can't tell him to sit on command,
no,
but
Sure.
somehow he just intuitively like he
new.
what he's supposed
That was
to do.
unbelievable. Like when we have a scene where a creature walks in the room, and we have our AD do the sound with her feet,
Yeah.
on the floor. Little Charlie's on the bed, and he's following the sound with his head, and you can see it on films like, oh my God, this is amazing,
He always knew the appropriate
I
reaction.
don't know if he's Meissner or method acting, but whatever, it worked.
Yeah.
The dog was a natural then.
Yes, absolutely.
So, Clara, how was that? Because you were, first time directing, but you're also in front of the camera. I'm always curious on how was it juggling that, even though you managed to work yourself into the flashback scenes, which looked great, by the way. They felt like the period. I was like, holy crap, they're doing period piece in an indie film.
We had a
Um,
great set and production design. Yeah, they
Yeah,
worked so
yeah.
the Untalk crew and Cat, they worked so hard.
Yeah. I think it's I mean, from a directorial perspective, I think it was really important for me to get it as authentic as possible because so many period pieces that I've seen, even big Hollywood productions, I rarely find it it just doesn't look authentic. I
Right.
mean, I'm familiar with what the clothing actually looked like, and and sometimes they're even throwing in, artifacts that came decades later.
It's my
just
pet
yeah,
peeve.
it's a pet peeve for me
I
as
can't
well.
tell. No, this is a polyester dress. It's not polyester in 1890.
Yeah.
I can tell by looking because I'm so much into that stuff.
True.
The texture,
It looks
the
different.
patina on screen doesn't look right. Yeah.
But in terms of directing myself, I I don't know that I'll be doing that again anytime soon. It really, especially for your first project, I was maybe a little over my head. But
Sure. but besides that challenge, now the roles reversed, right? Your mom's telling you what to do your whole life, but now you're in the director's chair,
I
so
know.
you get to tell your parent what to do. How was that?
Well, you'd be shocked. She was still finding ways to tell me what to do. I need a glass of water. Like there's PAs and an AD for that. What are you going to do for?
I want water.
But
She was amazing.
yeah, we had a great time doing it
Mhm.
together. Actually, for the most part, it was super smooth sailing. We just agreed on everything. And I think the most difficult thing though is just, because it's such a dark film, or there's so much of it that is dark at any rate. Um, it's just hard to watch someone you love so much, especially, a parent, a mom, and um, not just be watching them, but pushing them to those places is really difficult. I felt extremely guilty every single time.
See, I love it. I must be a glutton for punishment. I love as an actress to go through those really dark places.
Yeah.
It was much harder for Clara to watch me doing it than
Yeah.
me doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
If that
I
makes
guess I'm a big
sense.
softie, but
Yeah.
Well, what I liked about your progression, Bree, was it was a slow burn progression. It's not like all of a sudden, oh snap. We watch you slowly descend. How do you prepare for a role like that? How did you kind of pull? Where did you pull from to do that?
I think a lot of it came from observation from working in the
Mhm.
mental health field with kids who struggle with severe depression and how they could cover it up and
Mhm.
joke, and function, go to school, and then suddenly you start noticing little things, and it's like slowly you see it. Yeah, it's sort of like a piece of fabric that
Mhm.
slowly falls apart, as you wash it. I'm talking about empty
yeah.
clothing again, you see the fibers coming apart, and that's how I chose to portray Zuzu. The funny thing, the mistake was, as the executive producer, I was the boss.
Sure.
Bad idea, because sometimes there were issues, that happens
Sure.
on sets, and
Mhm.
I had to go and deal with it, and I was almost ready to be on camera,
Mhm.
and one of my producers would say, "Well, there's a drama, this actress or actors, whatever. Go, that's your specialty. Go deal with them. They're upset. Go deal with them." I'm about to go on camera. I need my time. Just go deal with it. So I had to be able to snap in and out really fast.
Sure.
Yeah.
But thankfully, I had a really strong training with the Meissner method. By my mentor
Mhm.
is Anthony Montes, an amazing teacher. And with the method, with Meissner, you feed off your partner also.
Mhm.
So it's amazing. It's like a tennis game, or I mean, throw the ball
Mhm.
back and forth. And you're not in your head at all. You are in the moment. What is your partner giving me? And then, like in real life, I'm reacting to you, reacting to me.
Sure.
It helped me to get there somehow. Yeah.
I think also, well, we shot what we could in consecutive order, but
Yeah.
obviously you can't stay,
Yeah.
perfect within those parameters. But I made sure to, the filmmakers all the time, they talk about things being like, I'm just forgetting the word now. um, when there's, the continuity.
Right. Yeah. Continuity.
Yeah, and there's towards the end of the film, everything sort of speeds up in terms of how many big events are happening within a short amount of
Right.
time. A lot of those, unfortunately, we weren't able to stay within continuity. We had other parameters we had to work around. And so I made sure that she was always like really prepped in terms of exactly what was that moment
Right.
before, and if it was going to work in terms of the emotional continuity,
Right.
which I think was actually maybe
It
isn't
was really
always
helpful.
important, but
Yeah,
for
it makes a
that,
huge
yeah.
difference. I also, because I was so exhausted, I got bronchitis. So I have bronchitis
Ooh.
our film. So my
Yeah.
poor sound guy, afterward, sound design, I had to work around the hacking like an old horse. But I use a physical exhaustion,
Yeah.
which helped actually for the
Yeah.
descent. I mean, in
Sure.
the rabbit
Yeah,
hole.
it did.
Yeah.
You were so exhausted.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Actually, we cut short of a couple of days because I was too sick. So we had to
Yeah.
Mm.
pick up on the weekend after the holidays,
Yeah.
and then I
Sure.
was feeling fine again. Uh, but you use what you can, and you also, when I was alone in the scenes, you just go in your head and try to pull from, because everybody experienced pain in their life and
Yeah.
fear and
Mhm.
moment of deep depression. I had lost my parents a few years before, so I
Sure.
went there, so it's hard, it's painful,
Mhm.
but at the same time, it feels good. You know what I'm saying? Is that makes sense? Because you're creating
Sp-
something. And
sp-
Yeah.
spoken like a true actress. Spoken
Right.
spoken like a I loved the pain. I
Love that
embraced
pain.
the pain.
She does.
I love it. Oh my God.
Psycho.
Now, I love the cast that you have here. The cast of characters, I think, for your neighbors surprised the hell out of me out of everything that I was
you.
watching. I loved this neighborhood. I wanted to live in this
Oh,
neighborhood
I love that. Yeah.
because
It,
because you
it,
have yeah
yeah.
you have the kind of the superstitious woman living next door with the husband who isn't really into it, but he's that, and then you had the boy who just would show up, and at
Yeah.
first I will say I was taken aback by that. I'm like, wow, I'm like Zuzu's really kind of rolling with it, but then I'm like, oh wait, she's a therapist, so she
Yeah.
immediately
Yeah. Oh yeah.
identifies.
You learn to
Yeah.
roll with it. You
Yeah.
desensitize. Absolutely. That's why I reacted that. My character reacted that way. Yeah.
Yeah, but where did these characters come from? Because I each one of them felt unique, but it felt like you were drawing from experience from people you
Yes.
knew.
We
Clara,
were, yeah, we were
real neighbors.
basing most of the pretty much, yeah, all the neighbors around people that we had known in
Mhm.
In old neighborhoods.
in old neighborhoods, and with a little bit of tweaking, and then
Sure.
the actors were all people that we knew from
Mhm.
acting class, basically, whose work that we admired, and so we kind of combined our previous
Non-actors.
experience with the natural characteristics of those actors, their speech
Right.
patterns. We use that for writing most of the dialogue to have
Mm.
like
We
a
cast
voice.
before we saw writing, basically.
We
would
did,
we
yeah.
hear
We
those
wrote for
people
certain
speak
actors.
to us.
Yeah.
And then also mixed quite a few non-actors
We
in the
did,
film. People
yeah.
never acted
Yeah.
before. Yeah, and they rose to the
Yeah.
challenge.
Yeah. Uncle Duncan
Uncle Duncan,
is
the
an actor.
with the
Yeah.
video, yeah, he's a guy, he's our friend who live across the
Who's
street
a real
from us.
neighbor.
And he showed up to Christmas party. I was friends with his girlfriend, and she brought him to Christmas party a year before we did the film. And he walked in and looked like I said,
Oh my God, that's him.
"That's Uncle Duncan." Isn't it amazing?
That's the true spirit of indie. You pull from wherever
Oh.
you can, right?
I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and the elder lady who is speaking Mandarin with her granddaughter, she is a
Alzheimer's,
friend of
yeah.
mine, never acted before. I say, hey, Judy, you want to be in the film? She said, sure,
Yeah, she was great. Yeah.
She was also, she acted before, but she was telling everybody else to act. It was great.
Yeah, she was telling everyone on the set how to do their job.
a natural then.
Yeah. And my boyfriend in real life, who's an editor, who did the film, Max Schulte, was cast as my hookup in the film. He's my
Ah.
little casting couch there going on.
Yeah, that's what I thought was interesting too. Is how the guys the guys that you have moving for you. I was angry for you. I was. I love when you're writing parts like that. Do you kind of look it over and go, is this going too exaggerated sometimes, or how was it to write those parts, or were you kind of going for a little bit maybe more exaggeration to help get your point across? How do you weigh that?
I think we were playing into a little bit of exaggeration and playing into archetypes.
Sure.
That's something I had in mind actually throughout the process of writing. Was I was constantly thinking about whether they're more like pop culture archetypes or much older, ancient ones, kind of integrating those into the story. I just find that it's a way to get audiences to, at least for me, I as an audience member, I always identify with films or stories where there's the really clear characters that I can almost pull, like I can pull my own narrative together.
Sure.
Because I have that sort of structure within it. I don't know. It's something I'm drawn to.
And then with my love interest, we were looking for old school romance. You know those snazzy 30s, 40s romantic where they're butting head, but when they'll end up in bed together, they're all both smart ass and friction, but it's fun. We wanted to add that
sort of pre-code.
Sure, yeah.
Because we know we were going to go really dark, so we needed some air to be some light. We felt in the story of Zuzu.
And the two movie guys do add the humor with their over-exaggerated reactions or their commentary. I think added a little bit of lightness, but also on the other hand, I'm sad to say I've met people like that. So you're pulling from experience, it's not too exaggerated.
Absolutely not,
I got taken by my previous home. They're supposed to build my garage, and it was awful. It was just, yeah.
I mean, it's like what they say. Nothing is, like you can't write anything as unbelievable as reality.
Yeah.
However that saying goes, it's true. All the time you encounter things, you're like, if you made this a story, you made it up. Like,
right.
Nobody would believe it. Yeah.
They say, oh, it's too much for the audience to go along with. What?
Well, and you're writing from experiences and your perspective, and I always love seeing and hearing dialogue from female creatives writing scripts and that, because you can always tell the dialogue was written by a female for female characters versus a male writing female characters 90% of the time. It feels more natural, and so you could tell in this, that it was, because I'm like, sometimes that dialogue you're just like, yeah, a guy wrote this. A guy.
Yeah, I think actually, that was actually one of the things that we were playing with when we were writing those two male characters. Is you're absolutely right. There's sort of this strange, like, cliche, but not really cliche, just like this falseness that often becomes apparent with dialogue for women that's written by men. And so I was kind of leaning into that, and sort of like, turning that around on its head.
Yeah.
I think that was sort of maybe not subconsciously, but it was maybe it's like in the back of my head a little bit.
and there's nothing wrong with that. I always enjoy it when I see stuff like that, seeing stuff get turned on its head or whatnot. Some audiences out there might get a little irritated, but as my friends say, if you're irritated by the scene, take a step back and think, why exactly are you irritated by this scene in particular? So and me, I was just angry for Zuzu. I'm like, these guys, I'm just like, but then Zuzu ends up like having wine with one of them, and I'm like, Zuzu, come on, man.
But we do it all the time.
So now for you do have a recurring child character that comes through, not just at the beginning with the therapies. You're May, played by Delilah Schneider. How did you cast your May character? Because she was fantastic in that.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'll pass that along to her. She's actually the daughter of one of my best friends from high school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I hadn't seen the mother in years, but we were already talking about the film, and at the time we were actually imagining it as a short, and so we were just, we're not going to get a casting director, we'll use good old Facebook. And we wanted someone who really looked like a doll.
Those antique dolls,
those like porcelain dolls, and there she was, so we were working with her from the beginning of the film for years.
But a couple of years, she would come over and we would play with her, and she was totally enamored with Charlie the dog.
Oh gosh, yeah.
She announced that she
got married to him
to Charlie.
Point,
And there's one. What's interesting is that her dad used to be a mortician.
Oh, okay.
And now he's a fantastic colorist. He did
our color.
He's a colorist now. So she was exposed. She had watched horror movies before. She was unfazed by that. And in the scene where she's laying in the coffin, Dad was there because parents have to be on the set.
Right.
and he would position her and give us tips about the makeup to the position
Position
and she was totally unfazed. She was actually giggling because the veil was covering her face, and she was like, so we had to. It was hard to find a shot where she was giggling. But then there's one scene at the end of the dinner party when she saw the other actresses, and
she loved horror, but during that scene,
she panicked. She panicked, and we had to put Shirley in the scene to calm her down, and we had to use a split screen. Only one actress she was okay with. There was nobody around, and then in post we did the split screen thing. But it's a little girl. Was a little girl, and now she's a teenager.
I know.
Well, she did.
Yeah. She barely will return our calls. No.
But she's amazing, and it was hard for her to make eye contact. She's very shy, and it was very hard for her to do eye contact. And at the end, the finale, when we're talking by the fountain, she wouldn't look in my eyes. So I went to the teacher on the set, and I said, "Do you have any stickers?" And he gave me a unicorn sticker and stuck it in my eyebrows. So when she's looking at my face, and it worked. Little tricks, right?
That's wonderful. Yeah, just whatever you can to get the shot. And she was wonderful, though. You couldn't tell, I think,
And her character, I mean, I kind of reveal to your audience, but we'll talk once we turn off. I will more about it. Yeah.
And now the location that you had, was this someone's house, or did you?
Mine.
Oh, it was your house. Okay.
It was, yeah.
I was wondering about that. Because it was a great location. It had character, and the way you shot it made it feel probably a bit bigger than maybe what it was. But the way you had it worked out, it gave it a bit of character, and I really liked that. Speaking of character, the paintings. Okay, who made the artwork?
So that was actually Delilah's mother.
Really?
Yes.
And she's a set designer.
Yeah, she after she had Delilah and then also her son, she'd kind of taken, she was previously an artist or studying art, and she kind of gave all that up. And I've always been a huge fan of her work, and it always broke my heart that she kind of wasn't doing that anymore. And so I managed to slowly coax her into doing it, convince her to do this, and she ended up being the art director, and now she's in the union as a production designer.
Since because she did discover new passion, and because of the Uncanny. So that's great. Yeah, she's amazing. It tore my heart what we put those paintings through.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I was like, oh.
No, she's like,
I saved them all.
Yeah.
She there, and there was no backup. We had to do one take.
Yeah, one take. Yeah.
Yeah. That was.
I was wondering how she was going to feel about what
she was really cool with it. Cool as
yeah. Oh man, well this, I always like asking this question. Rather than ask you what the hardest thing was to shoot, what was the one thing that you thought was going to be hard, like just is going to be a challenge, but it ended up rolling out, it ended up going easier than you expected? It just like, wow, we nailed that. Do
you have something that comes to mind? Because I do.
The scene.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the little barbecue ghost story scene.
Oh, sure.
When we're eating tacos outside.
Yeah, and when during the writing process, everyone told us to cut it. They said it was so boring, cliche, it was too long, you just, everything. And I don't know why, but we wouldn't let it go. We were like,
no, I want it in there.
And as soon as, and we didn't have a rehearsal or anything.
No, we were able, because we're SAG, and SAG has, we have to be actor, and we didn't
have the money for that.
So there was no rehearsal. It was all 1 or 2 takes.
Yeah, we didn't have rehearsal for anything. And as soon as we started to do the blocking and we did the first, the first bit of coverage, it just immediately came together.
It's a chill. All of the actors together, we all jumped. There was a little improv thrown in there, and
it was just so natural. Yeah, they all had great chemistry, as we knew they would actually. Yeah, but nonetheless, it's still, it is a talky scene, and everyone is just sitting down, and
Well, you got food there, so you take care of your catering at the same time as
That's
your
right.
It's
your
Yeah.
scene.
true.
See,
Yeah.
there you go. Take care of two things at
Yeah.
once, right? Where where did the mythology for the house come from? I thought that was really well thought out in that
Hmm.
story. Where did that kind of come from?
We did a
Little.
lot of research because I collect Victorian artifacts and clothing. We did a lot. We were familiar with the all the superstitions surrounding death during the Victorian era, and that actually what was the trigger to write the script is that particular little doll in a box that you see me finding in
Yeah,
the basement. I bought that years ago on my way to Palm Springs in this little dusty thrift store for $5, and I knew it was something phenomenal. I just knew, and I got it, put it away, and years later, when I got a computer, I did a search online, and there was one almost the same, and they're very
wow,
rare, called grave dolls, and they've been mostly in museums because parents would put it by the grave of the child and it would get destroyed by the elements. But sometimes
sure,
parents we were too attached because it has the kid's hair, real hair
Yeah.
on it.
They would keep it as a
And whenever that my heart just, I mean, I just started crying, thinking, oh my God, this little wax doll. And when I decided to, to try to write a script, it was supposed to be a short.
Yeah.
Uncanny was supposed to be short at first. Uh, we took that and ran with it and
Yeah.
built around it. Yeah.
Well, I could tell you, usually I could tell when shorts have been stretched into features. I couldn't tell that this was supposed to be a short at first and then stretched
We
into a
never
feature.
wrote a
So,
short. I
Oh.
pitched
So-
the idea to my boyfriend
Yeah.
at brunch. I said, hey, I got this idea for a short. What do you think? And he says, this is not a short, it's a feature. And I said, no, I cannot write I've never even written a short. Are you out of your mind? He said, you go, you do it. And then
Yeah.
rolled Clara to help me out. And we,
Yeah. It was obvious there was no way you were going to fit that into a
Yeah,
short.
yeah.
So.
the
No,
blind,
that-
blind, but
Yeah.
not with all the story in it, but you had it paced well. I really liked it, and I thought the ending as well was interesting. I mean, it's a bit of a slower burn, so I gotta let my listeners know. But there's nothing wrong with that. And that's the thing is, I think, and I've grown to love some slow burn films thanks to my friends that I've known, some critic friends who grew to enjoy them. I think
I
that
love-
gets.
Yeah.
I think they get a stigma sometimes, depending, just because they are slow burns. Some people are looking for that.
well, especially
Yeah.
nowadays,
Expectations are very
everything is
different
so
now,
with
yeah.
CGI and special effects and all that.
Yeah.
It's everything
Attention
is so
spans
fast.
are so short.
And Clara, you said you're a fan of slow burn. You got a favorite slow burn film?
Well, I love the horrors from the 60s and 70s,
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
or even some of the late 50s, you know.
Sure.
Those are
Some of that Hammer horror stuff, the little Victorian settings.
yes.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love Polanski's apartment trilogy.
oh sure. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those are the ones that I
Tenants
think
and,
I was
yeah.
probably
Repulsion with
mhm,
Catherine Deneuve. I'm a fan of a Picnic and Hanging Rock,
Oh yeah.
the
Okay.
original one, which is total slow burn.
that's slow burn all the way through.
all the way.
Yes.
I saw it as a teenager. And I was terrorized, and because I think the thing with slow burns, you see very little, so a lot of it is in your what you can imagine, and it's much more in your head, and we
Well-
like.
Well, I know for me, for slow burn, my initial experience only was like Terrence Malick films, and those just did not.
Oh yes,
Those just did not connect with me at the time
Yeah.
when I was younger. I'm older now and more mature, and I can pick out more things.
Everything
with it.
else is too fast.
I can't keep up with this one, but But I think if done well, it can keep your interest, and you definitely have characters and stuff that pop up and things that go along that I think keep you intrigued. Because I wasn't quite sure where you were going with it. I was like, okay, this could end on a really great note, or this could end very tragically, or but I was intrigued on where it was going, thanks to Marie, your performance with the slow descent and the cutting and everything. Clara, when you're putting a slow burn together, Did you feel sometimes you had to go back and go, well, maybe this is moving either too fast or maybe this is going a little
Oh
too
God.
slow?
Did you hit a point? We had
Oh, the
the
editing
Velcro
process, the
cards.
post, yeah, those Velcro cards I'm only supposed to use during the writing process. We were using them throughout the editing process. They're
Board with color cards and Velcro I still can hear the noise and moving in editing like a puzzle, right? Because
Yeah,
you can really
it is like a
move
puzzle. Yeah,
things around
yeah.
with that film. Yeah.
It's one of those stories where everything can be moved around just continuously. It never ends.
So besides Slow Bird, you seem to be a fan of horror. You got a favorite horror film?
Oh,
Always hard to pick one, isn't it?
it's hard. If we could give you a list,
Yeah.
The Witch.
Yeah, The Witch is.
The
It's
Witch.
honestly really
Oh,
difficult to choose a
Right,
horror.
The Witch.
Oh gosh.
Babadook.
Yeah, Babadook. I love Babadook. A film that recently really I was really drawn to is actually a short, Scorpio Rising.
okay. I have not heard of that one, but
Yeah, it's only like 20 minutes or something. But I mean it's really almost more like an art piece,
sure.
but it has a very interesting take on like more horrific aesthetics and Americana. Yeah, like 1950s Americana. Yeah, I think it's a definitely go see it.
I'll definitely have to check that out.
Have you seen Pearl?
Pearl? I love Pearl.
Oh,
I love.
I wasn't a. We're flying back from a festival in England. She was snoring away. I had Pearl as a choice. I was like, oh my God. So we just saw it, a few months ago, but oh my God.
I haven't seen it yet.
Performance thing.
I enjoyed Pearl more than X, and X was right up my alley because I'm a big Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan.
Okay.
So, X was like right up my alley. But then when they did the trailer at the end for Pearl, I'm like, oh, that's a nice fake trailer. And then you find out, no, they secretly shot this whole movie while they were shooting this movie. And so Pearl comes out, and I was blown away by Mia Goth. I'm like,
I hear it's amazing. I have to watch
amazing.
it. Yeah.
we won't spoil it for you, Clara. It's just that
Yeah.
it's got the most amazing performance for an end credit sequence you've ever seen.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm looking forward to Maxine, which is coming out eventually. That whoever knew that was going to be a trilogy,
Absolutely.
but you mentioned The Witch. I love The Witch. The Witch.
So wonderful. Oh, yeah.
It resonated so much with me for modern horror because I'm usually I'm an older school guy. I like Psycho. I like,
of course. Oh my God, it's so good. I was scared to take showers for months after that. Like most women, I think, who saw that. Yeah.
Rosemary's Baby really shook me.
Ooh,
Yeah, I think I was like in 5th grade when I saw it, and my best friend and I were going through like a horror binge,
sure.
And so we rented that one night from Blockbuster, and and she fell asleep on me, and I was terrified. It's still I think like I can't think of anything that has affected me as much as that film in terms of horror.
Yeah, and see, for me, while I enjoy Psycho and Texas Chainsaw, they didn't really scare me. But The Shining, the original,
Oh yes.
Yeah.
that was one that resonated with me. I probably saw it way too young to watch it. But
Stays with you. Absolutely.
Yeah.
when the kid starts doing the little red rum voice, that kills me. That kills me right now. Like, so what's next for you both? I mean, you've got Uncanny in the can. Pardon the pun. Where do you go from here?
We have a couple different projects that we're looking to produce. So we'll see how it goes.
I want to continue to write about kids in foster care. So really is my thing, because it's to me, it's the biggest shame in America, the amount of abuse and stuff going on. And we're working on a script, a feature about in the 90s during the AIDS epidemic, LGBTQ youth in group home, where you Similar to my experience, and also kids who had full-blown AIDS who decide to AWOL.
Oh,
AWOL. That's all I'm going to say.
that's all you're gonna say. Actually, it's interesting you mentioned about kids and foster care and that, because I just saw a horror film, an indie film called Beneath Us All, which was an interesting take on foster care as well. And
Oh,
it's kind of a vampire movie that involves foster kids in a foster family.
wow. I want to
Um,
watch. Is it out or is
I don't think it's out on streaming yet. I'll have to look, but if it is, I'll send you the link of where it's at. But
please?
I just watched it, and it's one of those things where you're right. The system out there, as much as people like to think it has improved, there's still
Oh
so
my God.
many things falling through the. It
It's
is.
awful. It's a horror story on its own.
It is, yeah. You don't have to embellish anything.
Yeah.
No, I mean not even for kids, but just for those in general, even
Oh,
adults. My
it's
mom,
yeah.
my mom had dementia, and
Too.
it's one of those things where movies show how easily it is to commit someone to have them put to get the help they need. It's not that easy.
No.
It's so
When you're
not
right
that easy.
and care is, yeah, it's especially in America. I'm Canadian, so that
Mm.
was a different experience. But in America, it was very difficult, very costly. It's awful. Yeah.
It just surprised me how much it took to actually get the social worker to go, no, help, she needs help. She's just it's like, man, the system is still needs work. But and you address that in Uncanny as well, so there's another layer. And
Oh
yeah,
yeah, it was very important. When I say, well, why can I cuss? Can I allowed
yeah,
to
go ahead.
I said, when I said that the system couldn't do anything, couldn't save her, why the fuck do you think they can help me out? And
Right.
it's
Yeah,
it's a broken system. Did you see? I don't know if you saw that. It was on CNN last week. The Surgeon General announced that mental health is an epidemic in America
Yeah.
right now, and it bring the collapse of democracy because it's so awful. And then he brought up those social media influence on the beauty standards on youth.
yeah.
How it's just, I'm thinking, oh my God, we wrote the script in 2016, 17, and this is now scary.
And,
Absolutely.
and and that's what's really kind of scary too, is that there's some films like you watch in the 80s that you go, that's still a problem today. You're like,
Absolutely.
know, some horror films that address it, you're just like, wait, no, that's still a problem today. That still hasn't really changed any. But
I just watched or finally watched the original, not American edited version of the original Godzilla. And I mean, right, here we are, well, worrying about
yeah,
nuclear.
it's
Doesn't
yeah.
go. Yeah.
No, it doesn't. And you're right. Godzilla, the actual Japanese cut, not the U.S. cut, hits totally different. It's a darker film.
Oh, it's really dark.
It's like you're like, oh, this is what the actual film was.
It's tragic.
Yeah.
It is.
It's really
It's sad,
tragic.
It
Yeah.
is. But hopefully films like Uncanny can help bring these things to light, and we keep up the good fight to try to get things changed, right?
That was the goal, I mean, if you're gonna be an artist and try to create something which involves so much work, at least try to entertain but have an impact at the same time.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
hoping people will leave the theater if they said the festival or watch it online eventually and say and want to talk about it.
Mhm.
You know,
Which
So,
so far is
oh,
yeah.
go ahead. I'm sorry to be nervous.
Oh no, so far it's that's exactly what's been happening. And
festivals,
people
yeah,
come up to us and
afterwards,
crying and want to hug us and
yeah.
they reiterate that they feel so seen or
Yeah, this is my life. This is how I felt my life. This is about me, and not just women, men
Right.
too.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's the best. It's better getting an award. Is
It
better than
is.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so
And
I'm sorry.
I think no, I just say I think people forget that too, that men, as much as it's a male dominated society, that men do suffer similar
Oh,
traumas and such as
absolutely.
well. You know,
Absolutely. Of course.
it's not just limited to a gender like
No,
like they try to
no.
play it out sometimes.
Especially working with children, we just had
Mhm.
as many boys or girls deeply affected by severe abuse at
Mhm.
home.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So,
The reaction is very different. That the boys tend to act out the pain on
mhm.
others, whether it's destructing property or physically attack, and the girls act toward themselves and
They're
So
self-destructive,
you
yeah.
know, self-abuse and yeah, but the pain is the same.
the
Yeah.
pain is the same. Well, there's no pain with Uncanny though. I was very entertained with it. Not to end on a low note. So where does Uncanny go next? Is it going to
Oh
VOD?
my
What's
gosh.
going on?
So much.
We're playing in
Can't keep track of the ones that are coming up even just this week.
5 festivals this weekend.
Wow.
It never
Mhm.
happened before, just once
Yeah.
or twice a month. And this, so we're playing at La Femme International Film Festival in Los Angeles.
Mhm.
We're playing in Sholo, White Mountains, Arizona. I'll be there with Mike, the boyfriend. Claire will be in LA at La Femme.
Mhm. We
Uh,
have Chicago.
Chicago Horror Film Festival also, and the one in England next week.
Yes.
Cinema Access.
Mhm. That's an
and-
online screening in
yes,
the UK. Yeah.
and then ARPA, which will be also online.
Mm.
So people who want to see
Oh.
it who don't live around here will be able to see it.
And
Yeah.
another showing in Paris too.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
next month.
Wow.
ARPA.
No, next week.
Oh
Also.
my God.
It's everywhere. Well, I'm glad it's getting out in front of faces. Do you have a website or something where people can go and follow up on where possibly the next showing is?
Facebook, the Uncanny Movie
Yeah, the Uncanny movie.
on Facebook, and we
Okay.
will post all our things. Instagram also. What's the address on Instagram? The Lure.
It's the underscore uncanny underscore movie. And it's the same for the website as the uncanny movie.com.
So we post all our codes. I mean, all to have access to be able to watch
Give
it.
updates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking time today
Thank you
to
so
talk about Uncanny. You bet.
Great
Thank
time.
you. And can you turn off? I want to talk to you about something. I want to
Sure,
see if you,
sure. Yeah, we
I want
can.
to see if you got that.
Anything away.
So everyone, keep an eye out. Go to theuncannymovie.com. I'll put links down for the website as well, where you could check out this wonderful film. It may not be exactly for everyone, but if you're open-minded, I think you can find a very interesting story here and find some entertainment in it. So thank you both. And yeah, folks, check it out and keep up to date. So when it does come out for you all, you can go see it. So
Thank you so much.